Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's another beautiful day, I say, in paradise, because that's where I feel I am. Today's practice is, the theme comes from a bike ride that I did yesterday. Some of you know Sheila McKee from Mantra. We did a bike ride from Collingwood to Stayner, had lunch, kind of toured around there. So quaint, went into some shops. She bought another big, beautiful picture for the studio. And then we rode back. Luckily, the person could deliver it. But on our way back, we came across a turtle that was passing across the train trail. So it was so neat. Was like about this big, and I'm saying she's a she because I want to get out of the habit of calling everything a he and mixing it up. But she took her time going across. At first, she was just stopped there. She had one leg out of her shell, and her head was just kind of looking around. So we stopped and we just watched her, and we both agreed that it was a nice symbolic reminder to us to slow down and to pay attention and be mindful. So we actually watched her walk across. We were a little bit concerned for her health too, because there were bikes going back and forth and they might not have seen her. But it's like she knew what she was doing. And each step she took looked like she was so fully present for each one, and it got her across eventually. That's our lesson. We will get where we need to go eventually if you give yourself the time to be present and mindful. So what I thought we'd start with today is something different. So I apologize for all of you who have already laid down on the floor. I'm going to ask you to get up. We're going to be like a turtle. And I'd like you to stand up. And I think it's possible to do this on your mat. So stand at one end, and I'm going to just say stand in the middle. A little bit of an unorthodox beginning, but hopefully you see where I'm going with this. And before you don't have to take your socks off, but you could if you wanted to, if you're going to practice without socks. But just feel the mat underneath your feet. See if you can feel the texture of it, the cushiness of it. Or if you're standing on the floor, or you're standing on your mat that's on carpet, what does that feel like? Can you get a sense of what's below your mat? So we're just starting with an awareness of your feet. And I'm not going to recommend that you keep your eyes closed, but maybe not have them intensely looking at something. And without thinking too much, just start to shift your weight from your left foot to your right foot and feel how not only it affects what your foot feels like, but you feel that shifting up into your hip. And you might even feel a, what am I kind of trying to say? A ripple effect. It's not what I want to say, but the word will come to me. So when I lean over to the right, I feel my shoulders do a little shift to the left. And same when I lean to the left, I feel like a little shift of my shoulders in my head. My hips go to the right or the left. I'm just having this little bit of an experience of how just shifting weight changes my experience. Then when you're ready, shift your weight to one foot and slowly lift the other foot off the floor, reach it forward and step down. And then do the same. So it's like we're going through standing poses. If you need a chair or want to do this next to the wall, you can do that. Slowly start to peel your back heel off the floor until you feel like you've shifted your weight to your standing foot, and swing it forward. So I'm going to encourage you for the next moment or two to keep doing this without me talking. I'm going to just talk for a little bit longer. When you get to the end of the mat, start turning. You can change the speed that you're going. I don't want you to fall over because you're going so slow. But the point here is to be aware of each step you're taking. How does your foot land? Does it clunk down evenly? Bless you. Do you land on your heel? Do you land more in the center of your heel or the outer heel or the inside heel? So for the next few steps, just focus on what your heels are doing. Not just the one you stand on or the one you step into, but what happens with the other foot? when your heel lifts up, where does the weight go? Let's be curious. How do we walk? Do you feel pain at all? So now bring awareness to the arches of your feet. The arches fall into the floor. So they lift away from the floor, putting a little more weight to the outside edge of your foot. Soft gaze wherever you happen to be looking. And then what about your toes? You feel the moment your toes start to participate, to push you forward. Monday's class, I talked about the gluteal muscles, especially the gluteus maximus that sits on the back of the buttocks, the back of the pelvis, the muscle that propels you forward. But your feet have something to do with this too. So what are your toes doing? Just focus on your toes for the next few steps. The ball of your foot all the way to the tips of the toes. This is a walking meditation. It shows you don't need a lot of space to do it. And while you're doing this, and you're so focused on your toes, or whatever body part you're focusing on, there's not a lot of room for you to be thinking about anything else. So really great practice, especially while we still have some nice days left outside. See if you can do this on your lawn. If it's warm enough to take your socks off and do this with bare feet and feel the earth. There is a connection. You will get something from the earth. Now feel what's happening with your ankles each time you step and each time you land. Do you feel strong through your ankles? Do you feel like there's a lot of wobbling? Do you hear clicking or feel clicking? I said that because I heard a click in mine. Just a few more passes. Come up to your knees now. What do your knees feel like? You know, is there pain? Is there a difference between left knee and right knee? Do you feel a sense of strength around your knee, strength and support when you lean into that leg around that knee that holds your knee strongly in place so that you can balance and bring the next foot forward? And now look at your hips. Be aware of your hips. When you change legs and you start supporting on one leg, what does that feel like? Hip meaning the whole pelvis. And then at one point you're standing balancing while the other foot comes through. Or are you more just sliding your foot along? What is your tendency here? I really wanted to focus on the legs today, but for the last few walks, crossing from one end of the mat to the other, think of this as your path you're crossing. What do you feel in the rest of your body? You feel where your head goes, where your shoulders go. Is there a shift? Is every step the same? The last few steps, I'm not going to say anything. Let it be your exploration. Are you allowing yourself to walk naturally? Or are you trying to make something happen? Try turning the opposite way if you're not mixing that up. If you find your mind for the next few steps drifting to thoughts, things you see, things you have to plan, come back into the experience of your body. And begin to make your way back to the center of your mat. Take your time, there's no rush. We're going to be in the center of the mat for a while. So we went from walking meditation to now we're going to go into a standing meditation. If you feel your balance is challenged today, have a chair near you or the wall so you can hold on to it. And notice, have a look down at your feet. How did they land? Without changing anything, just notice, is one foot further ahead than the other? Is one foot more turned out than the other? Does this feel normal to you? Can you tell? And then take some time to bring them more into a place of balance, mirroring each other. A place that still feels comfortable, but might not feel normal. Which way are your knees pointing? Can you adjust your feet so that if you were to bend your knees, they will go forward over the center of your ankle and line up with, I'm going to say, the base of your second toe, the base where the toe connects. You're not sure, you can kind of get a sense through your socks because that's where we want the knees to be. We want the knees to be facing in the same direction as the toes. Okay. And bend your knees a little bit. Bend them, double checking. Ideally, when you can, I've just got my hands on my waist, but when you bend your knees, I'll show you sideways. Knees go forward. I also start to bend at my hips and my hips go back. My shoulders come slightly forward. Then I come back up. So it's not a big bend. It's just let the body kind of drop down. So if you can, shoulders maybe don't go quite too far, but as your knees go forward, your hips go back, can your body go down more vertically and then back up? This is just to wake up your legs a little bit more so you can feel it. And then notice the range you're going through. How far your knees are bent isn't just based on what your knees are able to do, but also the angle, the ability of your ankles to bend. No mobility in your ankles. And then notice, what does the standing up part feel like? Are you locking your knees back? Can we have a sense of softness, kind of like what you did in your walk, where we came to the end of the mat and we didn't stop and then turn. We kind of went fluidly through the turn. So same when you're bending your knees, bend, find where it's more of a loop, a feeling of a loop. Just a couple more. And then find a spot between bent and locked, where you feel that same kind of strength in your legs without working that hard. Drop your arms down by your sides and get a sense of where your pelvis is. Is it forward or is it back? Can you bring it so that it feels more centered right over your legs? Where are your shoulders? Are they forward? Are they back? Where's your rib cage? Adjust so you feel that there's a little bit more of a continuity from your feet up through your body, right even up through the top of the head. Let your arms just hang. I don't want you to do anything with your arms. except to adjust your shoulders. But most of that movement is going to come from the shoulder blades at the back. And then if possible, if you feel okay to do this, close your eyes. Get a sense of what it feels like from the inside, as if you can get a sense of the inside of both legs, like a vertical line in the center of both legs that come together to a point at the bottom of the pelvic floor, and then right up through the center of the body, right to the crown of the head. If eyes closed means you fall over, don't do that. Have them just a slight, maybe half, your eyelids dropping down halfway. And the meditation here is to notice everything. Notice when your body shifts. Try to keep you balanced. Notice what your breath is doing. Notice if you're having thoughts like, oh, this is so boring. You will never be bored again if you get into this exercise and you get it, what I'm doing here. For the next, I'm going to say minute, simply observe. Bless you. You have just walked a distance to get to the place you're at. You arrived somewhere. So where have you arrived? What is this moment offering you? Be patient with yourself. It takes practice to move into a practice of awareness. And with your eyes still open or softly gazing, start to move your arms forward. Take lots of time. We're just going to bring them up to halfway, so they are perpendicular to your body, but parallel to the floor. See if you can get a sense of that. And then slowly move them out to the sides, so your palms move away from each other. You open them up. You feel the movement of your shoulder blades on your back. Can you get a sense of when your arms are across from each other, mirror images of each other, coming from one side and the other side of the body? Now start at your hands, start to turn your palms forward and up. Turn your forearms, turn your elbows to face up. Turn your shoulders back and notice the muscles on the back of the shoulder blade, the shoulder girdle. Then keep that, start to lift your arms up. As you lift your arms up, we're moving into a pose called Urdhva Hastasana, upward flying arms. Feel the connection you have wherever your arms get between your fingertips and your feet. And when I say wherever your arms get, they don't have to be vertical. We want to be in a place where we haven't compensated with the body by arching your back more or shrugging your shoulders more. Then let's reverse it. Slowly bring your arms back down to your sides. Turn from your shoulders, turn your palms down. This time while you're here, turn your hands backwards and use from your hands through your forearm to your upper arm to your shoulder to get your arms to do this internal rotation with your thumbs pointing down. Slowly bring your arms back down, palms facing backwards. Take your hands back behind the line of your body and bring them towards each other. You can bend at your elbows here. Moving through all the range of motion that the shoulders have available. Arms back out to the sides. Turn your palms forward. And stay like this for a moment. Set an intention in your own words to be as mindful as you can through the entire practice and through your entire day. As mindful as you're being right now of where you've arrived. So it's a good idea to stop and pause when you get somewhere and see where you've arrived. My little turtle friend yesterday did just that. She stopped, she looked at us, like, thanks for helping me across, thanks for listening to my message. And then we went on. Okay, if your eyes are closed, you can open them. Give your body a little shake. Shake your legs, shake your arms, especially if you're feeling that was kind of rigid. The intention with it was not to be rigid, but to find a way to be aware of how you live, how you show up in the world. So now we can go a little bit wider. I'm going to have you tap from side to side. Shifting your weight. So it's a little bit faster movement. I'm bending as I shift through, but you can change it up. As you lean over, lift your opposite arm up. So trying to move through the lines of fascia in the body, top to bottom. So I don't want you to think about this as movement your foot is doing or your hand is doing, but more your body is doing it. Where your hand, your arm and your leg join your body. Find those points. I'm going to change it up here. Start to turn. So we're going to reach like you're going to throw something across the room, but don't actually do that. So we're keeping the heel or getting the heels to lift up so we're not feeling a twisting through the knee. If that's happening for you, just tune into that. Say, maybe I shouldn't do it as big a movement. Now swing side to side, both arms. The brain, I've said stuff like this before, the brain likes it when you do things across the body. Okay, step in. Didn't know we were going to dance today, did you? Da 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 da. Okay, one more movement. Take your foot behind. Doesn't have to be very far. As we go behind, reach forward. Oh, what good dancers you are. So behind and crossing the body. I'm going to change the arms just one more time. So the leg that's going back, the arm goes across the body. Yeah. And if you end up doing something different, doesn't matter. We are just moving. And last one. Come back into the center of your mat. Look how your feet landed. Adjust them. If you always think, this is a great thing to do if you're waiting in the grocery store to be pulled up to the lineup. Stop and look, how did you land your feet? And if you always have consistently left foot turned out and slightly forward, pay attention to that. Like, why is that happening? We want things to be more symmetrical in the body. So adjust. And just for another moment or two, if you're okay closing your eyes, close your eyes and feel how different your body feels now. Feel the energy through your body compared to what you just, when we first were standing and doing the standing meditation. For me, there is a bubbling through my whole body. My breathing feels a little bit different. I feel more alive and my body feels more awake. So now let's get the chair. Bring the chair in. I'm going to take my socks off now, but you can, because I like to do these standing things with more awareness. And when I take that layer of my sock away, I have a little bit more awareness. You don't have to, though. Okay, so yeah, actually sit your chair so it's facing forward. I know this is going to get a little confusing. So normally we sit in the chair this way. Before you get totally set, I'm going to ask you to sit in the chair and then turn to the right. So set up your chair however you need it to be so that you're facing me. Yeah. So I sat in the chair this way and then I turned to the right. Yeah, which you may find you can get your whole buttock sitting on the chair, but you may not. What I'm going to ask you to do is not. So shift over so that your right leg is on the chair, but your whole left leg is off the chair. Okay. We'll be sitting on the right side so that the left thigh now can slide back. Just a little bit of an opening through the front of the hip. Now, good chance what's happening is once you've slid this back, you're leaning more into the chair. Instead, you know I'm going to say something different because that feels easy. Instead, I'd like you to shift so that my pelvis is like on an angle here, so that this hip comes down level with this hip. If you are taller than me and your knee comes higher than your hip, put a blanket or a couple blankets to lift you up. So I'm not that tall, but no, that's too high for me. But a folded blanket might be just right. So now I have a bit of a downward slope from my hip to my knee, or to my knee. Okay, then see if you can bring your thigh so it's more perpendicular at the back. I say this, but I don't want you to feel pain or pressure in your left knee at all. So with your left knee down below your left hip, checking to see what your low back feels like. And what else? If it feels something. What are you feeling? A little bit of strain. Okay, so if you're feeling any strain, it's because your pelvis is tipped forward with the front leg and you have arched your lower back. So instead, get your right sit bone to roll back. I'll go sideways so you can see me doing that. This way. I'll show you this way. So if I'm here, no, I lied. You need to see this side. So instead of this, this. Does that make a difference? Pelvis rolls back. Yeah. Okay. Take your arm forward. More strength required. Yep. Yep. This is what we did at the beginning. Out to the side. Turn not just your palm, but your palm, your forearm, your elbow, and your shoulder back and up. Then lift this arm up to wherever it's going without arching your back more. So the work you did to get your sit bone down, you can't undo that. Take a breath here, lengthening this whole side of the body. Then keeping the weight you have on that sit bone, on that right sit bone. Lean over towards the back of the chair. So it's possible as I lean, I'm going to lean more like this. I'm exaggerating a little bit so you can see. But what I want to do is keep my pelvis this way, stabilizing. So now I have to work a little bit harder than when I first sat down. Come back into the center. Bring your arm back out to the side. Back forward. Keep going, and as you keep going, it's going to line up with the body. Start turning your chest towards the back of the chair. You can have your right hand at the back of the chair and push with it. Push on the back of the chair. Same awareness of the leg. Then bring your left hand to join the chair as well. Turn your shoulders and turn and look over your right shoulder to the amount that you don't feel pain. Take a couple of breaths here. With each breath, find how you can remain tall and long through your spine. What does that feel like? Remember when you were standing and you got that sense of energy from your foot all the way up through the crown of the head? Bring your head back. Bring your shoulders back. Bring your body back. Now you can sit on the chair and bring your leg forward. Come stand again. Look down and see, how did your feet land?
Well, I always changed them before.
I know we're so conditioned as yogis on the yoga mat, but I bet you don't change it when you're out in the world. Look and see, what did you do? It might not be the same, but sometimes if you might look and see that the pattern is the same every time. Notice what you feel like. What happened to the left leg? Does it feel different than the right? Yeah, for me it does. Feels like it's worked. Feels a bit of sense of fatigue. I'm more aware of the muscles in my leg, particularly around the front of my thigh and hip. Okay, let's do the second side. I'll just turn my chair the other way so I can still face you. You just want to be able to see me. So if you now sit on the left leg and can't see me, I would say turn your chair. So then we do it. I know, it gets complex. This mirroring stuff. Left, sit so that your right thigh and sit bone, that bottom part of the pelvis, is not on the chair. And I'm using my arm here to help, but I'm also engaging through my core. One way you can check if your core is engaged, if you were to even consider lifting your left arm away from the chair, don't do it, but just consider it. Notice how your body responds by engaging in your low belly. And once you have that, then you can take this leg back. The way you're going to receive an opening through the front of the hip is to take the leg backwards. So we're using the hamstrings and gluteus muscles here, gluteus maximus, to take the leg back. But if for some reason you know that it's just not possible, your body won't go there, adjust a little bit. You were able to line up your thigh with your body when you were standing. So what needs to happen in order to get that to happen here? Maybe it's the rolling back. Susan had that great observation. The rolling back of the sit bone. So my pelvis is kind of doing this tip backwards. It might be you're sitting too much like that. Balance out what you're doing. Just become aware of what you're doing and do the opposite to bring you into a really great alignment. So same as we did before, arm comes up to the side. Turn, instead from your hand this time, turn from your shoulder first. Your shoulder to roll back. That's a plugging in of the shoulder. Then elbow crease turns up. Then forearm turns around. We cross the two bones in the forearm, and then the palm is up. Then bring that up. I'm already feeling like my right leg is getting fatigued quicker than my left when I was in this position. Take a couple of breaths here. Check the pelvis to see if you're balanced. See if you're leaning onto the chair more. You can get a sense of that sit bone, that bony protrusion in the bottom of the pelvis. Are you right in the center of it? Then without shifting your weight, start to lean over towards the back of the chair. So I have to lean over from my waist and my ribs rather than my pelvis. Adjust. If it's too much, come forward like this. So now we're really focusing on the side of the body. The bonus is the front of the thigh and the leg opening up. I'm still working. Okay, inhale, come back up. Arm out to the side. Start to turn your chest. So we're keeping, at first, we're keeping the arm in line with the front of the body. You can slide your arm to wherever you need it on the back of the chair. Slide it to the back. Get pushed to help give you the leverage to turn. Yep, arm works too. And then bring your right hand to the other side. Get a sense that you are tall through your spine. That all those parts that you were looking at in your walking meditation, your standing meditation, are aligned. Your head can turn to the degree you're able to without pain. If we try to do a rotation and we're slouching and the spine's not long, we're not going to get anywhere. We want to keep all that wonderful work that we're doing in the body. Let it serve us. When you're ready, head comes back first, then shoulders, then chest. Now bring your back leg forward and come and stand up. Again, without looking, without changing, look down at your feet. You know, that's twice now my right foot's been ahead of my left. Same? Well, it makes sense to me. I'm right side dominant, so. Huh? It might not, might just be a fluke. But just kind of look at it and see. Look over time to see what the pattern is. Okay, so now we're going to take, if you had a blanket on the chair, we're going to go into a little bit different version of, or a little bit different area of the hip to work with. So you're standing and facing your chair. Let me show you first. Yeah, probably. So standing facing your chair, I'm taking a step to the left. Then I'm going to do a quarter turn to face the back corner. Then I'm lifting up my right leg and putting my foot on the chair. So wherever you need to be, I'll say it again. I'm facing the chair. I walk to the left corner and I turn to the back right corner. Then the right leg comes up. You can step in quite close to the chair. Step up with your right leg. So now your thigh's coming right out perpendicular from your body. A forward bend here. The standing leg is straight. So look down and see. Do you have a sense where your foot is? Is your knee facing in the same direction as your toes? The center of the ankle, the base of the second toe. And that's your standing leg. This is a standing leg too, but that one's really doing the support from the earth up. Bring your hands to your waist and start to lean forward from your hips, not your spine. So we're going to allow the body here to come closer to the thigh here. You know, we all have a little bit of extra something in here, so you're only going to get so far. So get to where you can, and then you can either rest your forearm here and your hand to the back of the chair, or both hands to the back of the chair. We're keeping the leg in line first. So we're releasing the back of the hip this time, the back of the pelvis and the low back. If it's possible, lift up your belly and pull it forward and then rest it on your thigh. If you can, your hands can come to the seat of the chair. It's kind of like a lunge. It's for the front hip versus the back leg. Nice. More of a subtle experience, perhaps. Climb back up. Part two of this is now to take your foot a little wider and turn it out. So it's not just your foot turning out. When you turn your foot, your knee needs to turn too. So if your foot turns and your knee is still facing this way, so I've got my foot this way, my knee this way, then I need to adjust because I need to really honor where my knee is. So it goes in line with the center of the ankle and base of the second toe. So now I have room. I'm going to turn my left leg out. So I'm kind of facing away from this leg. Right away, I start to feel like this leg wants to come in. Instead, I want to push it back out. Bring your right arm in front of your thigh, so the back of your right hand. Lift up tall through the spine and move your rib cage the same way you did when you were in the seated twist. Turn it to the left. Head's going to be the last thing to turn, and notice if you want to turn your head first. Shoulders second. You can bring your left hand to your waist, and then your head turns. So we're doing the twist combined with the action to keep your leg here as external rotation. So right now we're using the arm to say, stay back, hold the crowds back. Instead, try to pull, instead of pushing your hand into your leg, try to just pull your leg away from your hand. Then take your arms out to the sides. So still keep that action. Arms out to the sides, turn from your shoulders, turn your palms up, and then come back up. Turn your rib cage, your shoulders and your head towards the back corner of the chair and hinge at your hips. So now we're keeping the leg wide. We're going to bring the torso down inside the thigh. Bring your hands to your chair if you need to, or stretch out this way and land them when you need. We still want to stay as long through the spine as possible. You can be on the back of the chair. You can bring your hands to the seat of the chair. What I'm looking for is more of a lengthening through the back of the body. This is a deeper hip flexion for this hip, working on increasing hip flexibility. So we've got an external rotation, we've got the leg going out to the side, and then we're adding flexion of the pelvis. So keep that action here of pressing your leg away, as if you were pulling it away from your hand. Spine as long as you can. So make a long line from your pubic bones through the center of the body to the top of the sternum. Notice your head where it aligns with your body. Also notice your standing leg. Are you locking it? What does your standing foot feel like? One more breath. Then slowly make your way back up. Go mindful, one step at a time. You know, coming out of the poses, I've said this often, it's equally as important. Okay, turn and step down. We got a second side. I'm just moving my chair so I can still face you, but it's the same deal. I'm facing it, I walk to the right, I turn, and before we turn, or before you lift your leg up, look down at your feet, see what they did. Notice your right leg, how it feels. Then when you're ready, you can lift your left foot up right in front of you so that your thigh comes perpendicular out of your body. And your standing leg is as if you're standing. So it hasn't changed. You haven't leaned forward, putting it on a diagonal line. You're right there, solid. Inhale here. Keeping the length through the front of the body, hinging at your hips. So we're hinging right here and bringing the body closer. So the spine stays in this relationship. Whole vertebral column, we want to try to make it just move forward and down. So you can rest here, you can be here, you can bring your hands down. Less about rounding through your upper back. So if your upper back is rounding, you're going to take away what's happening here. You're actually going to drop this down this way instead of lengthening from there. I'm going to keep that where it is and then lengthen away from it. So you've arrived at a new location. What does it feel like? Are you compromising yourself in any way here? What are you getting out of this? It's important to ask that question. Why am I doing this? And it can't just be because Beth's telling me to do it. When you're ready, begin to transition, noticing how you need to do this to come up. Something needs to engage in the back of the body to pull you back up. the back of this hip, the spine. Then we do the turn out. So we walk it further away, turn it out, but turn it out so that you're still in line with the center of the ankle and the base of the second toe. Then turn your right leg out. Bring your left arm in front and use that to help pull back. Think of it as crowd control here. Pull back your left leg. Inhale, lift up, look in your new direction. You just made it here. Now look somewhere. Oh, wow. I thought I was going that way. Take your right arm out to the side. I don't have the space to do it. But right arm out to the side. Turn your palm up, lift up. In this position, see if you can pull your left leg away from your hand. It does not matter if you actually pull it away. It's really just the action that I want you to find. Once you have that and you don't rely on your arm anymore, bring it up out to the side, the left one, and up. Your arms are more perpendicular or perpendicular to the floor. And then turn at your waist. Oh, we forgot to do that. Hang on. Turn away from your leg. Instead of having the arm here to do this, we're doing it without. You're turning towards the right. Watch if your head's turning first. The only reason I say that is because we can often turn the head and think we've done it. But if you keep your head in line with the center of your chest and turn your chest, and you'll go a little further, then you can turn your head. Nice. Then come back. Hinge again at your hips, but this time we're bringing the torso along the inside of the thigh, towards the inside of your thigh. You're still working this action. Hands here, hands here. For me, that's a nice stretch through my inside left thigh. The same action that you did while sitting on the chair, your left sit bone can go this way. If it's already that way, you need to lift it up. Anywhere that you can allow your pelvis to be tipping forward rather than tipping backwards. Spine is in alignment. Neck follows the curve of what's going on in the spine. Look at your standing leg. Is it locked? Are you balanced between whatever you're leaning on for support? Your 2 feet, your hands. And then slowly make your way up. Notice how you have to shift your weight to do that. Our whole body participates in this. Slow and mindful. Slow and steady wins the race. Isn't that the saying? We also saw a rabbit. We saw a snake. We saw a raccoon. Turn and step down. Before you move your feet, look how your feet landed. Right foot forward still. I mean, it's not a bad thing if you do that. Wherever you go, you bring them into alignment. But it's always good to see, like, what is my tendency? We'll stand just for a moment. If you can, close your eyes. If not, gaze softly. I feel like my whole body still has the bubbling. Everything has worked together. And then open your eyes again. Bring your chair to the front of the mat so you face the seat of the chair. And we'll get to lengthening through the back of the body, the whole back of the body. So my hands, I'm kind of doing the side and a little bit on top. My thumbs rest here. Then walk back. Take your feet as wide as you need them to be. Bend your knees so they point forward over the center of the ankle and toward the base of the second toe. Then hips shift back. So instead of moving your arms up, we are moving the body around the arms. So now we can add some traction. you can push into the chair and pull back away from it. Maybe you're staying a little bit higher. If it doesn't feel like you're lengthening, like traction through the spine, you need to adjust something. You can go wider with your feet and you can bend your knees more. That gives you a little more space for your pelvis to actually tip forward. Head's in line with your spine for just 2 more breaths. Slowly bring yourself back up. Walk forward. Solid on your feet. Where are they situated? Bend your knees as if you're sitting on a chair behind you. Take your arms out to the sides. Turn your palms up. Press down through your feet. Lift your body up. And then bring your arms forward and bring them down. So I kind of sneakily snuck in all the movements of the shoulder joint, even though we were doing the hip mostly. Come on down to the floor. I'm also realizing we have 7 minutes left, so I know. I know, it's crazy. Yeah, so I want to give you most of that 7 minutes to be quiet and still. But for now, have your props near you and lay on your back. We're going to lift up the right leg, interlace your hands behind the back of your leg. If you don't have arm length, the right proportion to be able to do that, take a strap around the back of your leg and bring your thigh a little bit more vertical. So I like my knee to be just a little bit in front of the hip, because then my hip flexors can soften a little bit. Once you have that, then slowly lift your foot up towards the ceiling and go to where you feel a sense of resistance. You can still keep your thigh in the same place, but you're feeling that the muscles of the back of the leg, the hamstrings, are now at a point where they're starting to lengthen. I don't want them to be at a point where they're screaming. So you be where that is for you. And by keeping the thigh here too, we can have the ability to stay more balanced on the back of the pelvis rather than watch this, rolling my back into the floor. So I want to keep this the same alignment we've been working with, and leg goes to where it goes. Two long, slow, even breaths. At the end of the second breath, you let go. Your hands will lengthen and strengthen the psoas by slowly lowering the right leg down. At some point, hopefully you can straighten it. And notice the strength you have in that leg. This is a path that you're walking. You're moving your leg from there to there, slow and mindful. Lots of awareness. You know, turtles can live to be something like 200 years old. Maybe more. Someone might know more turtle statistics than me. Once you've laid it down, let it go. I think that says a lot about their ability to conserve their energy, save it for when they really need it, and not rush. Nothing in nature rushes. Slowly let your right leg roll out to the side. Just let it roll away. And then slide your heel towards your sit bone, bending your knee, then bring your leg back up. That's how we avoid engaging the big psoas, hip flexor muscle. And then we go to the second side. So more of a vertical thigh, maybe your knee just slightly in front of your hip. So it would be, you know, here, I'm guessing is vertical, a little slightly forward. Strap will make your arms longer. Your hands can act like a rooting agent, pulling down, so the back of the pelvis stays rooted into the floor. Low back is neutral and natural. And lift up until you feel, yep, I feel a sense of resistance. I can't go any further. When you can't go any further, check to see how intense is this. Am I shaking? Is my leg shaking? I don't want to be shaking. What's my breath like? Can I breathe evenly? Can I treat this almost like it's a restorative pose? And be that quiet within my nervous system. Go to where there's a sense of ease, but you feel that slight sense, that slight feeling of a stretch. By all means, if you stay here long enough, that feeling might go away, and that's when you go further into the pose. But if we go to the intense place too soon, you're just going to fight the nervous system. 2 slow, long breaths, both inhales and exhales, equal length. Then release your hands. Your leg is strong from where your thigh joins your hip, your pelvis. Lower it from your hip joint rather than with your brain attached to your foot. Notice how far away the floor is. Once you've landed, let it rest. And if you have props nearby that you can bring in easily, that from this position, you can do that. Otherwise, you can roll over to your side. I'm going to suggest rolling to your left. So this is the way I do the roll. I roll this way, shifting my hips, then coming up. So if I wanted to put a pillow in, a blanket, if you have your sleeping pillows that you brought in, you can put them under your knees. You can put it under your head. Be comfortable here. I'm going to take you a little over time because it's 10:30 right now. If you have to leave, I apologize. Do it again and then do it when you can take the extra time to do the restorative or the resting pose at the end. If you have to leave, if you can, just spend a minute. A minute is better than nothing. Adjusting your body, trying to find that ideal symmetry in your body. Noticing where your heels are resting. Are your legs turned out the same amount? Can you tell from the feel of where you're resting on your heels? And then look at them. You can lift your head up and have a peek. You can support your head and look. And then adjust so that they are more symmetrical. Adjust where your pelvis is. Adjust your shoulders, your shoulder blades. I like always to suggest taking your arms way out from your sides with your palms turning up. Have enough head support that your neck and head feel like they're resting. Feel free to make any adjustments needed to be comfortable. Come back to a sense of what your breath is doing, to the sensation that you have in your body of breath, the sensation of having moved your muscles around, your bones around, your fascia, the connective tissue. Hear the sound of my voice. And let it bring you to a place where you have arrived to awaken your body yet again, to transition into living in your life separate from your formal yoga practice today, but still a place where you're able to practice yoga, which is really, to me, mindfulness. And allow your body to move however it wants to move. Fingers, toes, head, knees, wrists, ankles, hips, a little stretch in the spine, a little yawn. Whatever works for you. If you want to stay where you are, by all means, you always have that choice, and you never have to tell me. I will get to the end of the practice and then shut the meeting off, and you can just stay there for another hour if you want. You guys don't get to. Although there is nothing in here after, so you could stay. If you're making your way up to sit, take your time, do it in a way that serves you, that doesn't undo everything you did, that is not jarring for your body or your nervous system. And either sit on a blanket or props, or you got your chair. We want to sit in a way that kind of sets the tone for the transitioning. So spine tall, knees lower than the hips, the same as when we were using the chair earlier. Flowers waking up. I'm going to bring these lights back up again. So for a moment, consider how mindful you were this morning. And is it going to be possible for you to not rush today? Can you set an intention to notice when you're rushing anywhere? Thanks for coming. Peace.